Welcome to another edition of Let's Play WCW 1998. See, I don't know if every other episode or part or whatever you want to call this, whatever you prefer, I don't know if for all of those I will use the Let's Play terminology, because for, I would say, roughly about 6 months, I've been using the how I would book it phrase. But I'm going to try and switch it, because I'm going to be switching the name in TNA. Also, I feel like I had to say something else, but I don't remember what that was, so it must not have been important. Fact of the matter is, this is the first edition of Monday Nitro, following the pay-per-view, which was Spring Stampede, which we saw, and the pay-per-view we saw Randy Savage defeat Sting to become the new WCW World Heavyweight Champion, which we will hear from Randy later tonight, and we will see Randy on the show later tonight. But as of right now, this is where we start, with Chavo Guerrero against Diamond Dallas Page, DDP trying to redeem himself after coming up short last night against Raven, and officially losing the WWE, the United States Heavyweight Championship to Raven. A solid match against Chavo Guerrero, and we go to a solid promo with Diamond Dallas Page talking about the great talent in WCW and how he is ready to take the next step, and though he might have lost last night to Raven, he's looking at it as a positive, and now is setting his sights on his old rival, Randy Savage, and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. So Diamond Dallas Page is trying to throw his name in the hat to become a contender to the WCW World Title. Now we move to a different. Now we move backstage, where Chris Jericho is seen on his cell phone talking to someone, but the someone who he's talking to is a mystery, and it sounds intriguing. We are all interested to find out who it is. And now we move to the next segment, which is with Tony, Mike, and Bobby, and they talk about how since last September, Goldberg has been undefeated in WCW and has yet to really be tested by anyone. And now Goldberg has been said. Now it has been said that Goldberg is setting his sights on Raven for the United States title, because Goldberg is ready to take, not gain, not earn, take his first title in WCW, because nobody has yet been successful to stop him. And in this, a 3-minute match against Lodi, his first member of the flock that Goldberg is going up against, the first member of the flock, rather, that Goldberg is going up against, he decimates Lodi in a little over 3 minutes and continues his domination. Now we move to the next segment, which is classified as highlights to the pay-per-view, because first of all, Piper, Sid, and Greg Valentine are not in the arena tonight at the show, and neither are the injured. You can't see me, but I do the quotations. I might do face cam. I might start doing face cam with this. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And the Chris Benoit, who got attacked last night at Spring Stampede by Roddy and Sid. This shows the hype package, the history package rather, for this feud that has been going on since last December, and has just been gaining all the more traction as the year goes on. And now we move to the broadcast position with the announcers giving us an update on both Flair and Benoit. The update on Flair is that Ric Flair will be back either next week or the following week, depending on getting clearance from doctors to return. And Chris Benoit is still undergoing medical testing. They hope to have an update on Benoit next week or on Saturday night, one or the other. By the way, if I choose to do the update on Saturday night, then you will get the update once I get on Nitro. You could see Benoit on Nitro defending the television title or something to that effect. Now we move to the next segment, which is which is Tony Schiavone sending it over to Mean Gene, who's standing in the ring, ready to introduce his guest at this time. And his guest at this time is the Enforcer, Arn Anderson. And this is what something to the effect of the Double A would say. You know something, Gene? Gene, of course, asks about the issues with Roddy Piper, Sid Vicious, and Greg Valentine. You know something, Gene? I feel like it might be time for me to give each and every one of you insight into why I believe Roddy Piper, Sid Vicious, and Greg Valentine have a problem with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. See, Roddy Piper and his little band of misfits problem is not with Double A, and it's not with Chris Benoit. It is just the sides we chose in this war made us Piper's enemy. See, to understand why Greg Valentine has a problem with the Nature Boy, you need to go back to the early 1980s, late 1970s, when both Ric Flair and Greg Valentine were relatively new to the Mid-Atlantic region and Jim Crockett Promotions. Yes, I'm going historic on you. Greg Valentine and Ric Flair were once one of the top tag teams in the Mid-Atlantic region. But, as history worked itself out, Flair rose up. Valentine stayed down. Greg Valentine always hated Ric Flair for leaving him behind because he felt like certain people chose Flair over him, and even though Flair and Greg were great friends when they were a tag team, they went their separate ways. And one had the career of a legend and became the measuring stick of what makes a champion, and the other barely lived up to his family's expectations. And as for Sid, let's just mention a certain overseas tour, a little alcohol, and some things just got a little out of hand. And Roddy Piper, well, I said this before and I'll say it again, Roddy Piper has always been jealous of Ric Flair because he was never as good as the Nature Boy. Now, I could have sworn there was a segment there. Nothing much to this match. Just getting Chris Jericho out there, letting him compete against Alex Wright. Jericho gets an easy win against Alex Wright tonight. Before I continue with this, because I think I skipped the segment or forgot to include one. To continue Double A's promo, he would call out Dean Malenko to ask Dean Malenko for help, because Dean Malenko was friends with Chris Benoit. And no, it was not just a part of a tag team in WCW or the stable in WWE. They were actually good, best of friends from their time in ECW, and I believe even possibly in Japan, when Benoit was the Pegasus Kid and Dean Malenko was over there with his brother. So Arn Anderson is calling out Dean Malenko to try and get another hand or another helping hand in the fight against Piper's band of Midser, Piper and his cronies, let's say. Dean says he would be honored to help the enforced Double A in the fight, and is always willing to partner up with his best friend Benoit and the Nature Boy. If you're thinking a little hand signal, or hand gesture rather, or hand gesture if you will, is going to start popping up on your television screens, you're darn right. Eventually it might. We'll see what happens. Now we move to the segment I'm actually on, and that is a video package with Davey Boy Smith and Bret Hart highlighting what the events that led to first Bret Hart quitting, and then Bret Hart showing up in the stands, and then Davey Boy Smith going on the shoot, doing the shoot, and quitting a couple weeks back, and then showing up with Bret Hart, and the on-screen butting of heads that has gone on with Eric Bischoff and Davey Boy and Bret Hart. But the one thing that hasn't happened is Eric Bischoff has not spoken face to face with the Hitman. Davey Boy, yes. Bret Hart, nope. So now, knowing Bret Hart isn't in attendance tonight, knowing that he isn't, Eric Bischoff calls out the Hitman. But of course, since number one, Bret Hart is technically not a member of the WCW roster anymore, so technically he can't do nothing. He's not going to come out, so he's not going to accept Bischoff's challenge to come out to the ring. So Bischoff is standing there taunting Bret Hart, but nothing's happened, because Bret Hart's not coming out. Of course, who's right there with Eric Bischoff? Hulk Hogan. So Hogan grabs a mic and goes off on a tangent about how Bret Hart thinks he's the best. And maybe up north he was, but down here, Hulk Hogan is the best. Hulk Hogan is the reason, or let's do it in in first person. I am the reason why each and every one of you people are in this arena tonight, and I'm the reason why you, Bret Hart, are in wrestling still. Because without Hulk Hogan, there would be no professional wrestling. So I guess you could say, Bret, I am the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be, brother. And I don't have to just say it. I've proven it again and again. The taunting is real between the NWO and Bret Hart and Davey Boy. This, I do believe I put the Cruiserweight title on the line, but it is Rey Mysterio against Ultimo Dragon. Ultimo Dragon and Rey Mysterio lose. I know this says due to ref losing control of the match and stop the match. No, it was actually supposed to be time limit draw, but I forgot to make it time limit draw. So let's continue. Now this is where the announcers talk about Mike Awesome versus the Giant from last night at Spring Stampede. This is also my opportunity to talk about Mike Awesome versus the Giant. Mike Awesome versus a Giant from Spring Stampede, because you might figure out, you might have noticed rather. Following the match, Mike Awesome attacked Vincent. So what does that mean? If Mike Awesome's in the NWO, why the heck did he attack an NWO member? I am currently in limbo with Mike Awesome, just like I was in limbo with the Giant before Mike Awesome came in. I was going to hold off until about September with the Giant versus Mike Awesome to establish Mike Awesome, but honestly, there really wasn't much on my mind of what to do with Mike Awesome. Now I'm thinking about dropping down Mike Awesome and making a feud with other people first, and maybe bringing back with the Giant. But as you saw at the pay-per-view, as in terms of the game, the Giant and Mike Awesome are not the best in the ring together, as the match, I do believe, got a 44. So I basically put that segment at the end of the match to cover myself in case I wanted to end the feud after the match. And that's what I did. I cut the storyline. The storyline is ended early because of the poor rating for the match, and that's not what the announcers talk about. The announcers talk about that to a point, and say basically that they believe whatever existed between the Giant and Mike Awesome is over, and now the Giant Mike Awesome might have problems with the NWO, because he basically turned his back on the NWO, attacking Vincent. But now now we go backstage with Perry, Saturn, and Raven talking about Goldberg, and how Raven is gonna, and how basically Perry Saturn is telling Raven, "Give me Goldberg. Let me go against Goldberg. I'll take the big guy down. I'll take him down. I'll put an end to the streak." Now we move to the next segment, which is an unfortunately terrible tag team match between The Flock, Riggs, and Sick Boy against the Faces of Fear. Apparently, I need to change the fix it, because apparently the Barbarian has a dreadfully stale character, and I can't help but think that that negatively affected this match, and it wasn't just Riggs and Sick Boy. Oh. See, this is where I screwed up, because this segment was supposed to be, you remember where Arn Anderson had an interview with Mean Gene? This segment was supposed to be there. I messed up. Yep. Here's the Dean Malenko segment that I mentioned earlier. I messed up. Actually, maybe I didn't, because I guess I had Double A. I guess I jumped to the conclusion that because Double A was out there already, I was gonna have Double A call out Dean and then do this with Dean. I didn't even know I had the Roddy Piper segment on the show. I guess I forgot that I put it on the show, even though I just finished the show about maybe 15 minutes or so before I started recording this. Fact of the matter is, this segment is basically what I talked about before, with Dean saying he would be happy to partner up with Ric Flair and Chris Benoit and do a favor for Arn Anderson. It's like a, dream come true, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. The typical face answer. And now we move to the next match, which is the Giant against Wrath. Yes, you might say Wrath could be a credible person, Wrath could be this, Wrath could be that. Wrath right now is just a jobber for the Giant. Because I feel like with the fact that the match that the Giant had at the pay-per-view, well, basically sucked, he needed another match. And this also gets James Vandenberg on TV, which, to be honest with you, he doesn't really get on TV that much, so it's good to get James Vandenberg on TV every now and again. Speaking of the highlights of the pay-per-view that I said you were basically able to be seen earlier in the earlier video package, this is basically the highlights of the pay-per-view from last night, but it is highlighting Sting versus Randy Savage because that was a world title match. And now we move to back to the announcers who discuss Hogan, Savage, and Sting. Basically, the announcers here are discussing what they think that the futures might hold for these talents. And right now, the future for most, if not all of these talents, is up in the air because I don't know where I go from here. Is that it's just a temporary thing? Give me some time, I'll come up with something. Right after we move away from the announcers, we just see a shadowy figure walking around in the rafters, and guess who it is? Sting is walking around in the shadows up in the rafters. Now we move to the next segment, which is Randy Savage against Mortis. Now you might say, why the heck out of everybody on the roster is Randy Savage, the WCW champion, mind you, versus Mortis? Well, I'll be honest. The reason why Savage is versus Mortis is because I like Mortis. And I feel like with the fact that Savage just won a match against Sting last night at the pay-per-view, does he really need another major match? Or can he have a minor match like this? Yes, I need Randy, I need at least, I needed at least to get a 64, a 70, which it didn't, but at least this did. Randy talks about how, he's world champion after months and, everything that he was saying before the pay-per-view to Tully Blanchard and before the NWO Gauntlet, which saw him beat Jeff Farmer, Bryan Adams, and Hulk Hogan in a 3-week span to get the title shot against Sting at Spring Stampede. How he was saying that he feels underappreciated, undervalued, etc., etc. And now he feels like he made it. He feels like he got what he always deserved, basically. And that nobody could take it away from him. He's world champion, and so on and so forth. This brings out Kevin Nash, who basically tells Randy, congratulations, but now, my friend, you got a bullseye on your back as big as my size 15 boot, and you have better be ready to defend that title against any challenger who walks up in front of you. Because, Randy, I know you still have it in you, but prove to them and them that you still have it in you. Because I'm going to stop you right there, Kevin. I might be older, but I'm still Randy Savage, and I can still hang with the best of them, buddy. And there ain't nothing that you can do to scare me into thinking that this, he's pointing to the world title, is going to be off my waist before I'm ready to let it go. And this leads to a heated confrontation between Kevin and Randy as Nitro goes to black. Once again, I wouldn't say a piss poor show, but not a good one. I gotta say that Rey Mysterio versus Ultimo Dragon disappointed me. That is not the last time you're gonna see Rey Mysterio versus Ultimo Dragon. But it still disappointed me. Rey Mysterio, that's the second time in a very short period of time that Rey has disappointed me. I don't know if I should blame Rey. I don't know if I should blame Dragon. Either way, both guys disappointed me, and they probably disappointed me the most. I wasn't really expecting much from Goldberg versus Lodi. I just want to say that overall, as you can tell, Lex Luger versus John Nord was actually a good match and maybe should have been on the show, but I did not have high hopes from that match because of Lex Luger and also John Nord. But before I go, let me just note, we are in May. We are on our way to, I believe, Slamboree, and then we have Great American Bash, Bash at the Beach, Road Wild, and then Fall Brawl. I know it seems like a lot of pay-per-views, but it's going to go quick. I think there's a possibility that before the end of September we could enter the month of July. Not July. I'll be at the end of the month of June, heading into Great American Bash. I was thinking about ending it at Great American Bash, but I think I'm going to see where I am at that point, and I might just cut it early and start the second one, the next installment of the How I Would Book It, instead of continuing this one. But I may also just do it as a break from this one and then go back to it until Fall Brawl. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We got to see what happens. Either way, this show wasn't... In terms of the game thinks the show wasn't very good. If you think the show is very good, if you think the show is even good, let me know in the comment section below. What was your opinion of the show? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Would you have done something different? Do you hate how I'm booking certain people? You know, what is your opinion? I want to hear it. You know, let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jazz. And keep an eye out for more content just like this. And you can only find it in one place, right here, Wrestling Express. Till next time. Peace.